if you say, I'm not anti-Jews, I'm anti-Zionists, who do you think Zionists are?
Hi, I'm Quinn and I'm an anti-Zionist Jew. Zionist Jews have gotten really, really good at making this conflict and this crisis an issue of anti-Semitism. That's not what it is. The way they spin it, if you don't support Israel, if you don't support the right of Jewish people to establish an ethnostate on currently occupied land, you're a Nazi, you're anti-Semitic, you're blowing dog whistles, you want Jewish people to die. Not true. This conflict, this crisis is not about religion. It's about land. Before Zionism had ever come into the mainstream political sphere, before Israel was ever created, before the Holocaust, before all of it, Jews, Muslims, and Christians all lived in Palestine. Palestine was not a Muslim country. The land is spiritually relevant to almost all major religions. And up until the proliferation of Zionism and the establishment of the Israeli state, all major religions with ties to the land were represented in the population of Palestine. The issue arose after the Holocaust. There was a mass immigration of Jews from Europe to Palestine, and eventually it became a mainstream political party and political ideology to believe that Jews were owed ownership of the land. It didn't matter what other religions were spiritually connected to the land should be owned by Jewish people. And Zionists make this about anti-Semitism. They are forcing you to pick either anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. It's inherently violent, it's an inaccurate portrayal of the conflict, and it's a bastardization of Judaism. Using Judaism and the atrocities of the Holocaust to justify and inform settler colonial violence is a slap in the face to the entire faith, a perversion of what Judaism teaches us.
Okay, so this lady is a Jew who doesn't even understand what the word Jew apparently means. First of all, screw Judaism as a religion. I personally, I'm somebody who's not a Jew, who is a Zionist, who's against Judaism. I don't know why these people still don't understand the meaning of words. I don't understand. Like, these are not very complicated topics. And this is a person who thinks that she understands these things, but she doesn't seem to have a very basic understanding of anything she's saying. And I will break this down for you guys, because this video on TikTok, I'm telling you, has become so popular, and this one video has gone extremely viral. Anyway, so now her second accusation, like in endorsing occupation of land. Okay, what land are you talking about? If you're talking about if you're talking about West Bank and stuff, I'm against that. And so are many Zionists. So Zionism, I mean, it's complicated. West Bank is complicated. Like, I see some of the points that people make for it. That's a different discussion. But that's not part of the Zionism. You could be against settlements in the West Bank and still be a Zionist, as I met many Zionists that are against the settlements in the West Bank. Gaza was not occupied until recently, and right now it's just being defended against an attack that happened on October 7th. So we can't be talking about Gaza, and we can't be talking about the West Bank, because neither Israeli military being in any of these places is not part of the definition of Zionism. Zionism just means Israel existing as a country. So you calling that part that we call Israel as occupied land means that you want Israel to just stop existing. Like, you are against the existence of Israel as a whole. And I don't understand if she understands that this will lead to genocide. She wants Israel to not exist even as a country. I don't understand if she knows the level of bloodshed she's endorsing right now here. And it was not occupied land, because the land that was given to Jewish people that came and settled there didn't belong to anybody. When we're talking about ownership, right, or belonging, we're either talking about private ownership or land that legally belongs to a nation state of some sort. When it comes to private ownership, the land that the Arabs owned at that time was not taken from them by force, privately owned. At first, I will tell you what happened after. Everywhere else belonged to the Ottoman Empire. Last time I checked, there is no Ottoman Empire. There was, without the Ottoman Empire, this land was no nation state at that time. No nation state at that time existed in that area. Anyways, let's see what her arguments are.
I'm Quinn, and I'm an
Okay, so she's introducing herself as an anti-Zionist Jew. Let's see what she has to say.
Hi, I'm Quinn, and I'm an anti-Zionist Jew. Zionist Jews have gotten really, really good at making this conflict and this crisis an issue of antisemitism. That's not what it is. The way they spin it, if you don't support Israel, if you don't support the right of Jewish people to establish an ethnostate on a currently occupied land, you're a Nazi.
Okay, let's stop here. Okay, so these are claims, okay? These are claims establishing an ethnostate and a currently occupied land. So you are already changing the definition of Zionism on something that you believe, and you're making it evil. So imagine if I said like, hey, if you are anti-Zionism, that doesn't mean you're anti-Jewish, all right? Because Zionism is the desire to kill babies. And obviously, if you don't like killing babies, that doesn't mean you don't like Jews. You could not like killing babies and like Jews at the same time, right? So these are not arguments. These are just throwing around accusations on what Zionism is and just thinking like you made a point. You haven't made a point. It hasn't been established that Zionism necessarily means that you want to, unjustifiably occupy certain land and also establish an ethnostate, right? Here's the thing. I don't think Israel is an ethnostate. I do believe there are people in Israel that want to make Israel an ethnostate, but for a state to be an ethnostate, a certain ethnicity has to have certain rights above other people. And you don't see that in Israel. Just because a country has a larger population of a certain ethnicity, that doesn't make it an ethnostate, right? There are many countries, like, is Japan an ethnostate? No, even though there's certain ethnicities that are higher in Japan. But as a citizen you enjoy equal rights to other citizens, regardless of your ethnicity, you're not an ethnostate. I'm sorry, you're not an ethnostate. You might say like, aha, but Armin, what about the right to become a citizen? That is only reserved for Jewish people, right? But again, that is for non-citizens. For you to be an ethnostate, you have to have unequal rights for citizens. That bias that you're saying, that exists for people that are not yet citizens. Is that a fair bias or a non-fair bias? I consider that a fair bias. If you look at other countries, when they want to accept, I don't know, refugees, immigrants, or citizens, they do consider certain people, they put certain people above the line based on the level of discrimination or hate that they're receiving in other places, right? For example, you might want to be a country that accepts refugees if they're, I don't know, ex-Muslims or Yazidi women in ISIS-ridden countries, or I don't know, if Christians who are being prosecuted in other countries, you want to like put them at the front of the line because of the amount of hate. So it's not, you're not being racist because you consider them superior. Other people are considering them inferior, and you're trying to protect them. Other countries do this, and I think that's fair. This is not a form of discrimination. This is responding to other people's discrimination, right? So if you are trying to adjust against discrimination, you're not discriminating yourself. So if Israel is providing citizenship to Jews, it's a country that says, like, if you're a Jew, you could become an Israeli citizen. That doesn't make Israel an ethnostate. That is, Israel was founded upon understanding that worldwide there is a global hatred, deep-rooted hatred against Jewish people, and Israel is a country that wants to provide protection to these people. It's not discriminating, it's responding to a form of discrimination. But if you are a citizen, it doesn't matter if you're Arab, it doesn't matter if you're Caucasian, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish, it doesn't matter if you're Filipino, it doesn't matter if you're Kenyan. If you are an Israeli citizen, you enjoy equal rights with other people. That means that Israel is not an ethnostate. And this step-by-step argument. Tell me where is do you see any flaws in any of the reasoning that I gave you? Because I took you step by step and I came to this conclusion, right? That other lady's explanation for why anti-Zionism is to be anti-Jewish, that didn't make any sense. I gave you the argument and it's flawless. It's flawless. We make the point, like the world is asking mostly for one country not to exist. Even people think the United States is an evil empire or whatever. They don't ask for the United States to stop existing. They only ask for Israel to stop existing. The only one that has mostly a Jewish population. And so it is a very anti-Jewish bias, one. Two, it would lead to genocide. Israel not existing as a country, Israel falling, is the end of Israel as a country is the beginning of a genocide on Jewish people and other Israelis, actually, which will lead to many Jewish people dying. So even if this is why, if you're anti-Zionist, even if you're not intending to be anti-Jewish, in effect you are. Those are my arguments, okay? For why anti-Zionism is to be anti-Zionist is to be anti-Jew. Is being anti-Zionism anti-Jewish? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because we don't make the point for other countries not existing. Based on that definition, Zionism is just Israel's nationalism. So this is that second lady is responding to this first lady. So let's see what the first lady says. Let's see if this lady is right, okay?
If you say, I'm not anti-Jews, I'm anti-Zionists, who do you think Zionists are?
Hi.
Okay, so the first lady is wrong as well. Okay, Zionists are not necessarily Jews, and Jews are not necessarily Zionists, right? I am a Zionist. I'm not a Jew, and I met Jews that are not Zionists, right? So many Jews are Zionists, many Jews are not Zionists, right? So, but here's the thing: even though not all Jews are Zionists, and not all Zionists are Jews, for example, me, that doesn't mean being against Zionism is not anti-Jewish. It often is. Sometimes it's not, but it often is. And even if it's not intended to be, it effectively is. Because Israel, what is Zionism? Guys, we have established on this channel exactly what Zionism is, and I have given you my justification for why defining Zionism in that way. And many of you, once you heard my justification for it, you said that it made sense. So I will do that one more time so that we at least know what the hell we're talking about before we move forward, right? I went to Israel and I talked to many Jews, Zionist Jews, and non-Zionist Jews in Israel. And what I notice is that when people talk about Zionism, they are referring to different things. So for me to understand what Zionism means, I looked for the common feature among all of these things. Because if you say Zionism is A, B, C, and D, and somebody else says Zionism is B, C, and D, and somebody else says B, D, and F, and then I noticed, well, okay, it seemed like every one of you are saying B. That's the common denominator in all of these things. So then what would be the definition? The definition would be what they all share together. I heard definition of Zionism that I was like, okay, I hate that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to support that. I heard definition of Zionism that I was like, okay, that makes sense. I would want to support that. But again, what did they all share? Right? We had religious forms of Zionism. We had secular forms of Zionism. We had civil, liberal forms of Zionism. We had fascistic versions of Zionism. But what they all shared was they agreed that Israel should be a country. Israel should exist. That's what they all shared. We have even religious Jews that are very anti-Zionism, right? We have that as well. So that's all it comes down to. That's, I think this is the most rational definition of Zionism. The belief that Israel should be that Israel should exist. That's Zionism, right? So defining Zionism that way